All right, guys, go ahead and get started. Glad to have each of you here. And I'm on Yell because I don't usually look at my phone I don't want to listen to him, so I look at my phone. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our normal buyer needs, seller needs, anything you got coming up. And Broker Bill, you're going to have to move because all the food's coming in to be on that back table. Who's got something they want to share? Fill us in. You have to wait for the cool mic.
Oh.
Otherwise, the people on
San, and I have a 5-bedroom, 2-bath Rambler with a 100% finished basement in Stansbury Park for 500.
Awesome. Who else? Clint?
All right, I have a property that's for sale. It's a single family home out in West Jordan. It sits on a half acre. It's got 5 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms, close to about 4,400 square feet. It's got a pool, it's got a sports court, it's got a gazebo, covered patio, everything. I mean, it's a beautiful property. It's still on the market. So I just wanted to just bring that up. If you guys have any clients that are looking in the West Jordan area, let me know.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else?
This is Ellen.
Go ahead, Ellen.
I'm accumulating listings, so you guys gotta help me sell this. I have another one in Lehigh. It's on the east of I-15 Lehigh, so incredible location, close to outlets of Traverse Mountain. It's a townhome, meticulous. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's coming up next week. It's competitively priced at 410.
Great price. Okay. Anybody else online?
I do.
The Flutie.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Shelley.
I don't want to interrupt anyone. I have a new listing on the market in Spanish Fork. It's 7 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 3-car garage on just shy of 1/3 of an acre. But the whole side yard from the front of the house to the very edge of the backyard property line is concreted. So if you have a lot of toys, they've even turned part of it into a sports court, but it can be used for multiple purposes. It's over 4,700 square feet. It's a huge house. So it's in Spanish Fork, listed at $849 to move quickly.
Great price. Awesome. Thanks, Shelley. Someone else had something?
I have a home in Draper. It's Lisa Flutie. It's 1,175,000. It's 4,400 square feet. It's a Rambler with a 3-car garage. The basement, it has its own entrance and has been rented out before for $2,000. And it's on 0.38 of an acre. It's a really
We're losing you, Lisa. Try again.
What's that? Did you lose me?
We lost the last half of it.
Oh, okay. Well, it has a basement apartment that's 2 bedrooms, bathroom, and its own entrance. And it's walking distance to all the schools in Draper. So it's a great location.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
But it got an offer on it. But we're still working on it. If the offer's not accepted, so I don't know. It may not be available by the end of the day. And if any of you know a good painter, the big home in Goshen that I've talked about a few times, it's on 48 acres. 2 things I wanted to tell you about it. And one is I'm looking for a painter if you've got a good one, because she's doing what I suggested and getting rid of a lot of the red. Look at the pictures on it, it's got a lot of red. So the red's going away a lot, not completely. But I've got some buyers looking at it. I've sold a lot of bigger homes through the years to group home stuff. And so there is a corporation that I've got looking at it for that. But just throwing out, people think of it just as a farm or a ranch or owner occupied, and those properties this one where it's not really works well for an event center, for a group home, for all kinds of different things like that, because it's really very pretty and a lot of land. And So if you're affiliated with any groups like that, I'm thinking that may be the way it sells, because it's got a lot of bedrooms, 9 bedrooms, 5 baths, almost 9,000 square feet and 48 acre. Good land, good farmland. I mean, it's great. I mean, and it's got good water. Most of Goshen hasn't got water. That property has got plenty of water, both in irrigation water and water in the well.
Awesome. Thanks, Kay. So if you've got a great painter for Kay, let her know. And then obviously if you've got somebody with 8 kids and you want to move in, that would be a perfect property for you. All right, anybody else? Okay, it indicates a little bit of how slow the market has come in the past just couple weeks. In fact, up until yesterday, we had gone 13 straight days in the Orem office without a closing. So longest we've gone in almost 2.5 years without a closing. So the market has slowed significantly over the past couple of months. I think, that's what I hear from most of you, and especially in the last couple of weeks. Okay. All right, let's move. Verus is here and Encompass is here, and we'll give time to Jason.
Oh, well, love seeing big group. I'm gonna just kind of help you guys with some talking points that you may have started hearing some rumblings around, because in the last, I don't know, 48 hours, I've had a lot of conversations with clients and agents about the scuttlebutt that's been going around and the rumors that's all over the internet about 50-year mortgages and the moving your rate to your new property. So just so that you guys have talking points, because if you start getting people that are like, oh, I don't want to sell my house because I have this rate, and then they get excited because they hear that, you might want to have some talking points so that they have reality. First off, the 50-year mortgage is already kind of been put off to the side. There are 40-year mortgages out there, but I will tell you, unless Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, USDA, FHA adopt it as their primary, it's always going to be the secondary market or the non-QM. Non-QM is popular with the 40-year, but when you price it, it's not really different than the 30-year, because the cost and the rate isn't a benefit to the client. So even if the 50-year does come on the market, it's not going to be more beneficial than a 30-year unless HUD adapts it. Just FYI. And then the variable one, that's the real popular one, that realistically, and this is me saying it, is never going to happen. The lenders don't want those lower rates on their books, so their lobbyists will stop it from ever coming into fruition. And I think even if it does, it's not going to go back to the past. It'll be all loans from that point forward, because your borrowers or clients, they have set documents on their closings that doesn't have that in their provisions unless they're FHA or VA. So if you have that come up, kind of let them know just reality. So they're not just saying, I'm not going to list you until that's ready, because that's probably not going to happen. So helping them kind of get with reality will help you get some of those people to come to reality and hopefully get you a listing. The one other little quick thing to help you guys, if you guys have a client that has their listing that's been on the market for a little while and they're ready to start making big drops, one thing that I can recommend, we've got the 2-for-1 buy down advertisements that we can co-brand and give to you. It typically equates to about 2.1-ish, 2.2% of that sales price equates to what they could contribute. But you can actually put on your listing that you're willing to contribute for the 2-1 buy down, which means that buyer is going to get an effective rate 2% lower than the current rate for the first year, 1% lower for the second year. And that could be incentive, because it's telling the buyers what you're willing to do to help them get in, instead of dropping that price immediately. To start dropping price. Maybe try to, I can create the flyer that you can have that really explains to the buyer what that is with your information, my information on there. But it's something to kind of think outside the box to kind of help your listings move. So reach out for me. I'd love to give quotes, free quotes without even pulling an app if they want to get a second opinion on someone that they're already pre-approved with. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jason. Before I give it to Jessica, on rates, so we've heard a lot about another cut coming up, and the Fed indicated pretty strongly that they're going to cut again before the end of the year, just recently. But there's some wishy-washy in there because we don't have with the Fed shutdown, we don't have a lot of the data that we needed for the past couple of months, and it's either not going to come or it's slow for October. And so, you know, that may delay what we see as far as a Fed cut because they may be uncertain about what's happening with the economy in order to actually make those cuts. So just be really aware when talking rates and stuff. Honestly, I never really talk rates with my clients. I just send them to Jason and say, hey, he's the guy. He knows what's up. I don't want any responsibility. I'll give it all to Jason, right? So it's a better way to go. All right. Jessica.
Okay. How are you guys? Hope everyone's ready for Thanksgiving. I am not. So if anybody has a good deviled egg, I got stuck with making deviled eggs, never made them in my life. Anyone has a good recipe, or I'm going to Harmon's because I'm not making them probably. The one thing I'll tell you guys today, so I'm obviously from Verus. We have multiple escrow officers, our locations. We have one right literally down the street. I'm not going to point because I always mess it up. It's 800 North. West. So anyways, we also have one in South Jordan, and then we also have one in our St. George office as well. But the one thing I want to kind of tell you guys, I guess, to add value or something is, do all of you guys know you can actually go on the county and like let your people who your buyers or any sellers like that, they can track anything recorded on their property for free. Like they don't have to, I know there's companies out there, we see them all the time, like this Home Watch or whatever it is that charges you money, but counties have a website. You literally go on the recorders and you can have your client go in there if they're really worried about it. Because fraud's a big deal. There's fraud is out there everywhere. But just so they know, they can go online and they can actually put their like name in or their parcel, whatever. And it will, if anything gets recorded on their property, they get notified automatically. So just so you guys are aware that you guys can get that without having to pay for it. I've had people that are like, oh, well, we'll just pay for it. You don't have to do that. Your clients don't have to pay for that. I think that was it. I really like, if you guys need help doing anything like with looking up properties again, we can help you guys, or who's the signer on this property, or who actually owns it, or sometimes the MLS is a little off a little bit, we've noticed. Just call us and we can help you and just pull things from the county and do that. So online we do a lot. Yes.
Is there any way you could kind of make some kind of document or something that shows how a person could go on and do that for their property? Obviously, that's becoming a huge issue. And just so that we could share it with our clients of like, if you own land or whatever, this is how you protect it.
Yeah. So I can probably send a link somewhere. I'm imagining I can send a link like to you guys. Yeah, we can send the link and you'll click on it and you can go scroll right down and it has Property Watch. You click on that and it's super easy. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Yep. We can do that. Yeah, no worries.
Not to throw Shelly under the bus, but I did send those links out in an email about a month and a half ago. So they're there if you want to look for
We
them.
can send them
Yeah,
again.
you know,
we'll
I
send
read
them
all your
again, make sure
emails,
everybody
so I
gets them.
just must have missed it, but yeah. So.
I know you do, Shelly. I know. Totally good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, anything you guys need, just let us know. We can help. It all. So we appreciate it.
How long it takes the county take it from recently recorded to posting it on the property? Is it a month behind? Or?
So Utah County is further behind than like Salt Lake County. Okay. I know that. I think they used to be months and months and months behind, but I think now it's like, I would probably count on maybe like 30 days or so. There's a way to pull things. Like when we do our date downs, we have to do like a date down. Basically, we pull the property before it funds, but I want to say it's still at least like a month or so out on that. So
that system you were talking about, does it include that?
So our searchers will do that. Our searchers will go back, but yeah.
Status.
Yeah, if you've got it in your house, it won't show up until you won't know that your house sold until 6 weeks after, and the people already moved in next to you, in bed with you. So yeah,
there's a lag. Yeah, there is.
Some
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's some,
Yep.
yeah, but it's better than like
It's been a while since I.
a year or so. Yeah. Yeah.
Change.
Yeah, I know it does. So, but yeah, and we do the online notary too. So we have a lot of clients who do the online notaries. So
Holding, searched handwritten abstracts.
yes, I know that was Duchesne County. That was awesome. So, but thanks you guys. We appreciate you.
Thanks. Thanks, Justin. All right. Upcoming classes, guys, put these on your calendar. First and foremost, Christmas party's coming up. It's always fun. We're going to do something a little bit different this year, and so everybody should have fun. I believe that's a Friday. It's the 12th. We were going to have it on the 10th. So if you've got it on the 10th is what we originally announced, change that to the 12th at 2 o'clock. It'll be downstairs in a UCAR room like we had last year. Always a lot of fun. We'll have a potluck, and I'll talk about it here again in a minute. And then business planning classes, it's the same class repeated like 3 times so that you know it's not 3 separate classes. It's a 3-hour class put on by Ninja Selling. It's a service that I pay for that class, and so you guys can come have the handouts. Planning class, I've been through it almost every year for the past 3 years. They do an excellent job, and so well worth your time. Let me know if you're coming so that I can make sure and have enough donuts here for you so that you can get through your 3 hours. Okay. Yeah, we'll throw up a couple of tables and stuff so that everybody's got room to write and do those kind of things. January 6th and 9th is when we're starting our Pathway to Mastery. That's a Brian Buffini class that we'll be hosting here and in the Union Park office. So on Tuesdays, it'll be here. On Fridays, it'll be up there. It'll be the same class in each office each week. And so if you don't get to one, you can go to the other. But it doesn't matter. You can do them all in Orem. You can do all in Union Park. You can switch off whatever works for you. There is a cost to that, so I believe it's $395. We're hoping to get a discount off that and get you down to $295, but at this point we don't have that, so I can't promise it to you. But it's worth the $395, I promise. And so that'll be a great class. Sign up for that. There's actually a link coming up. So let's talk about Christmas party first. This year, instead of the traditional white elephant, we're actually going to have a white elephant auction. It'll be a lot of fun for you guys. We'll have our normal potluck, and then you'll have the ability to earn some money, some broker bucks, so that you can go and bid on the prizes or the presents. So you each need to bring one wrapped gift, somewhere around $20, and then it should be a lot of fun. So plan on about an hour and a half there. Bring something fun to eat and enjoy, and it seems like everybody always has a good time there. So it'll be downstairs in the UCAR room. Yep. This is the business planning classes that I talked about. Again, all 3 of those will be streamed. So just let me know if you're going to come. And then this is the Buffini. Those are the items that I picked out that it'll go through, but there's a lot more. Big ones are a buyer consultation, a listing presentation. In fact, you'll watch a live listing presentation that's been recorded so that you can get that and see how that's done by Brian. And so this is a fantastic one. This is the advanced pathway to mastery. It's not the basic one. For me, I felt like the basic one was too basic for 90% of you. And so this is really a good place to start. Even if you're a newer agent, these things are really good in order to put in your repertoire of things that you can use going forward. So there's a code, but I'll also email out a link for you if you want to sign up for that. All right, next up, top producers for October. So our October top producers, Luke White was our #1 producer. So he's only been in the business about 1.5 years. Great producer. He had a fantastic October. Jacob Bingham just came over from KW up in Park City. And so he's #2 in volume. Karen Reed was #2 in transactions and #3 in volume. Tim Reynolds, #4, and Shelley Jameson and Marie Buno, #5 in each of those. So great job to these agents. They're great agents, all do fantastic. And I don't throw these up here to make you feel bad if you're not here. I actually throw it up to kind of give you some encouragement of, hey, these people, like there's none of them that are like something special other than Todd. But other than that, we just have really good people. And so here's our top producers for the year so far, year to date: Tim Reynolds, Luke White, Shelley Jameson, Todd's #3, Fee #4 in transactions, and Perry Mills, #5 in transactions. So again, these guys, I mean, you talk to any one of them, they're going to tell you they don't do anything special. They're not any different than anybody sitting in this room. And so you all have the ability to be here at the top of the list. Let me give you some numbers as far as what this looks like for these people. These top producers together have done about $80 million in volume between the 6 of them. They've done 139 transactions, and their average agent commissions or their total agent commissions, $1,600,000 has been paid out to these 6 individuals. So they're making somewhere around $250,000 on average. Okay, some more, some a little bit less. But I think for most of you, if you could make $250,000 a year, you'd be pretty happy with your business. But Tim, you're number 1. You do anything special? Like, are you this cool guy that like does some incredible thing? Right? I mean, is there anything some super secret silver bullet that you have that makes you the top producer here?
Find opportunities and jump on them.
So you just work, right? So yeah. And I think all of these agents would tell you the same, heads down, and they're always talking to people about real estate. They're taking the advantage of the opportunities to have those real estate conversations. And that Brian Buffini class that we'll be doing will focus a lot on this kind of stuff. Okay. All right. We have Melissa Williams from Toll Brothers in-house. She has brought you some amazing Chick-fil-A food, and so you'll enjoy that at the end. But we want to give Melissa a chance. If you haven't been watching, Toll Brothers has some amazing communities coming up, some really good stuff. And I'm sure Melissa will talk about it, so we'll give you the time. You get to use our fake mic. I know it doesn't sound like it does anything, but it helps the people online hear you.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you. I'm Melissa, and like you said, I'm with Toll Brothers. I'm so happy to be here. So I am just curious how many of you are very familiar with Toll Brothers? Because down here, I find a lot of people who have not heard of us. And Toll Brothers is fairly new to Utah. We came to Utah, I think it was 2019. But we actually started in Pennsylvania in 1967. We're one of the top 10 national builders. And we have some really amazing homes and communities here in Utah. We are a luxury production builder. So we sit kind of in between your production and your custom builders is our target market. Okay. So we have a new community in Elkridge. How many of you are familiar with where Elkridge is? Yes. Okay. More people. I love that. So just east of Payson, south of Salem, essentially. So it's a beautiful neighborhood. It sits like right on the bench. We're like 5 minutes from the Gladstone golf course. Incredible views on every single lot, mountain and valley views. And we do have quite a few that are like walkout lots. Price range starting around $1 million. So when it's all said and done, you'll be like 1.1 up to about 1.7 million. And I brought a couple of things for you. So one of them just tells about our neighborhood. And then we do have 2 quick move-ins that can close in the next like 45 days or so. Oh yeah, do you have a question?
What size are those lots?
Our smallest is about a 1/3 acre. And our average size is like 0.45. So they're pretty good sized lots. Yeah.
A lot of you guys know I had that big listing and in Elkridge, and that house sits just above where they're building those homes, and the views are just unbelievable.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for saying that. That's good to know. Okay. And yeah, so come and see us. We just finished our model home. And it is super second. We're having an agent exclusive event. It's called a Content and Connect Day. So I will have food there all day. It can come by anytime between 10 a.m. and 5:30 and use our model home and our quick move-ins and the views to just shoot content for your own social media. And then, of course, the goal with that is hopefully to bring you clients, to bring us clients too. So a nice teamwork effort there. So yeah, December 2nd, mark your calendars if you can come by anytime that day. Earlier in the day, I'll have more like breakfast foods, pastries or whatever. And then in the afternoon, I'll offer lunch. So you'll get food no matter what time you come. We want to see you there and get to know you a little bit better. And yeah, so I think that's everything I had that I needed to share. And just to see who's listening, I have a couple free meal cards for Chick-fil-A. So this is just kind of a fun little thing. What year did Toll Brothers start? Oh, 67. Yes. Good job. How many quick move-ins do we have in Elkridge? Two. Okay, I'm gonna give it to you. Amazing. So it's wonderful to meet you guys. And yes, I brought Chick-fil-A, so you'll enjoy that in a little bit.
Awesome.
Any other questions? Awesome. Nice to meet you guys.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah.
Are you hanging around?
I do need a grab that's like bag to take back to Chick-fil-A, so I'll probably hang around
Oh.
a little bit if anyone.
Okay. Yeah. If you have questions, go talk to Melissa. All right, guys, moving on. You can see all our Fathom swag up here. I'm going to be giving all this stuff away today, just so you know. So hopefully you're paying attention to everything that we've covered so far, along with what we're going to cover. And a lot of today's class, well, not a lot, about half of today's meeting, we're going to talk about some of the basics that I get asked about every single day. And a lot of this goes back to our settlement that occurred a year ago. And agents are starting to slip back into forgetting that we actually had any kind of a settlement, and they're doing things like we used to do and we've done for a long time. And it's confusing you over and over about which way you should actually be doing the business, right? So we're going to go over some of that.
Still have to have a buyer's agency before show.
Yeah. Yes.
When did that happen?
Yeah. What's the actual answer? Do you have to have buyer's agency before you show a house? Have a showing agreement. You don't have to have, you have to have a written touring agreement in order to show the house. So that's what it is. You don't have to have a buyer broker. You can use a limited showing agreement.
Listing agent though.
If you're a listing agent, do you need a buyer broker agreement with a buyer who comes through your home?
No.
No. Or open house? Don't need that either. Okay. All right, let's talk about the listing agreement, specifically section 2 of the listing agreement. What does section 2 of the listing agreement cover? Anybody done a listing lately and know what section 2 covers? Oh, no, that's cute. This is the section you should probably be most aware of because it covers your commissions. Okay. So it talks about the commissions that you're going to get paid. So section 2.1, we're seeing a lot of issues with section 2.1. So section 2.1 outlines your seller's brokerage fee, how you acquire it, and those kind of things, and what that fee is. You can put any numbers in here. We're not telling you what to put in here. I'm recommending that you put at least 4% because there are a lot of builders out there offering the incentives. Well, this is listing agreement, not buyer agreement. So listing agreement, it's up to you what you put here. This amount here is the brokerage fee, okay? And this is the amount paid to the listing agent only. So in the past, before settlement, before these forms changed, it was buyer commission and listing commission combined. So if you were paying 2 to the buyer and 5 to the listing agent, it was 7. Right now, that's not the case. What you're putting in here is what the listing agent only is being compensated. Okay, so only put in what your fee is. Okay.
Yep. After that.
Yep.
What's best practice if you put percentages, should you put not applicable in the dollar box?
So here you've got in the amount, you've got the amount of percentage and dollar amount, right? So you've got, depending on how you're going to structure it, you could have both. You could have a percentage and a dollar. You could have just a dollar amount. You could have just a percentage. If you're using just a percentage or just a dollar amount, I would recommend that you put 0 in the other. Okay. And so I prefer in any time that there's an and, the key is that there's an and, I prefer that you not leave the other one blank. Okay. If there's an or, then you should leave the other one blank. Okay. So in this one, you would use 0 and $500 or 8% and $0 or a combination of either one of those. Okay. However you choose to structure that. Okay, this says that the seller has negotiated and agrees to pay the company brokerage fee. So note that this at the end where it kind of puts in quotes and capitalizes those words, brokerage fee, that becomes a defined term within the contract. And that's how we refer to your fee. So this is called the brokerage fee, okay? In the past, and we'll talk about the BAC, in the past, it used to say buyer's agent commission and it was abbreviated BAC, and you'll see that a lot of places. Like the REPC, the REPC says real estate purchase contract and then says REPC. Those are defined terms that are capitalized that can be used in a contract. Okay. Now those two amounts added together are your brokerage fee. That's your commission. That's your compensation. Those two numbers added together. That is not, we do not, as Fathom Realty, we do not charge a transaction fee. We as the brokerage are not charging it. So if you put 1% and $500, the 1% plus the $500 is your commission. It's not split out as a transaction fee. So when title asks, do you charge a transaction fee? Even if you're charging a personal transaction fee, it's not a transaction fee, it's just added commission, okay? And so how you explain it to your client is up to you, but when it comes down to title and how it's listed on the HUD, it should be listed as extra commission and not as a transaction fee, because we as a brokerage don't charge a transaction fee.
Gonna be my clarification is if you do a transaction fee, that's where you would put it.
Yeah, so if you're gonna do a transaction fee, you would put it there, but when it comes down to the actual terminology of what it is, it's actually the brokerage fee, right? And that brokerage fee is just commission. Those two amounts, be it a percentage or a dollar amount, when added together, is your commission. Okay, that's your brokerage fee.
Something in both boxes, but together they are the brokerage fee.
Yes, you can have something in one box or the other box or both boxes, but however you put it, that amount is the brokerage fee. Okay, that's the commission. All right, section 2.2. So moving on to section 2.2, this is the seller's brokerage fee with an unrepresented. And if my clicker will click, if a buyer is not represented by the brokerage, that is the amount that you're getting paid, and it shall be added to the brokerage fee. Okay, so if you put 2% in section 2.1, that's what you're getting paid. This is now saying that if an unrepresented buyer buys the house, you will get this amount extra. And it can be a percentage or a dollar amount or both again, right? But this is added on top of. So if I put 2% there and 1% here, then I get 3%. This is not something where it's a total amount. So if I'm going to get paid 3% total, I wouldn't put 2% in section 2.1 and 3% here, because then you're getting paid 5%. Okay, a lot of errors on this one.
So
If the seller agrees, right? I mean, this is all negotiated, right? And again, this has nothing to do with limited agency, dual agency, whatever you want to call it. This is not about that, because this says if the buyer is not represented by a brokerage, if the buyer is in limited agency, they are represented, right? They're represented by you. And so this has nothing to do with that. So if you're representing the buyer and the seller, this is how you get paid. On the listing agreement, on the listing side, you get paid by what's in section 2.1, what you previously put in there. And then for the buyer who you represent, you're going to put your compensation most likely in the rep C or in the brokerage compensation agreement, which nobody uses, but it's still there for use if you want to use it, right? And so you'll get paid that way in two separate areas based on who you represent. Does that totally not make sense? Okay.
So on unrepresented buyers, you're really counting on the listing agreement and then just the unrepresented buyer agreement.
Correct. Yeah, the unrepresented buyer agreement won't have any amount in it for you to be paid. So it's just section 2.2. Right. Yep, it's just section 2.2.
Have we seen an increase in unrepresented buyers?
I'm gonna ask Kay.
Yeah, and it's shocking and uncomfortable, but yeah, Jeff's helping me.
Yeah, we've seen a lot. We've seen quite a few more unrepresented buyers attempting to buy properties without agents. Not doing it well, but attempting to do it.
that too.
Yeah, a lot of it goes back to settlement, because now I think buyers are more aware that they have the opportunity to do that and that they're not forced to use a buyer's agent. And so I hear a lot of buyers thinking that they're going to save a commission by doing it and they can do it all on their own and whatever. And it ends up just being terrible.
Since the commission's not splitting, or they are saving a commission.
Yeah, in some cases, right? So it just really depends.
Well, I guess it's only if they think they're dropping the price, but they think they would be paying.
Exactly. Yep.
But the commission is really none of their business, right? I
Right.
mean, as buyers, it's between you and the seller.
Yeah, but if you're in easy terms, like they say they think you're paying 3%, it's 100,000, they had offered 197,000.
Yeah.
I think you're paying that.
So what I typically see most of the time when I look at these contracts, what I typically see is that they come off the price by 3% to make up for the 3% their commission's not being paid. But what they don't understand is in this market, coming off 3% isn't even how much a normal buyer's agent would ask the seller to come off the price, right? And so they're not even negotiating in as much as they probably could if they had a buyer's agent working for them. So that's the problem on the buyer's agent side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You pretty much, your experience that you're basically doing things for them that they aren't doing.
I'm
You're
trying,
almost becoming a limited agent anyway.
I'm
or-
trying not to, I don't write
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, you've got to be extremely careful.
To treat them different even if I'm home. It's uncomfortable.
But there is extra work, that's why you put in.
Right.
That's why you put in
Yeah.
that, because you're still doing more work, yeah.
So I mean, it even says in this section, right? The section says that the seller and the company agree that the company may have additional liability and responsibilities in the transaction, right? And that's the reason that we're charging that fee, is because you do. Bill?
Didn't the state say that we're not even supposed to give the forms anymore?
We can give blank forms to them. We have to be careful. What the state said was that you're only supposed to give them the blank forms that are on the division's website. So any UAR forms we're not supposed to give to them. Only the state approved forms we're supposed to give them as blank forms. So good luck trying to navigate that, but that's what we're supposed to do.
Jeff,
Yeah.
I just think like it's silly
Go ahead,
because
Sean.
I will disclose to the unrepresented buyer that I already have agreed with the seller on how much money I'll make if an unrepresented buyer comes. So they're not necessarily saving any money. And then, of course, I will disclose to the seller that I'm going to take advantage of their lack of experience, and anything that I can take advantage of legally, ethically, I will take advantage of an unrepresented buyer. So I just think if people understood that they're not really saving that much money and they're probably getting themselves into somewhat of a mess, then maybe they wouldn't do it. But obviously, we're just going to use it to our advantage as much as possible.
Yeah, I agree. And negotiating with an unrepresented buyer is always super fun. Like I take advantage of that to the maximum amount.
That's our job, is to take advantage of their stupidity, really. I mean, that's what we promised the seller, that we would represent them to the best of our ability.
Just saying
Yeah.
what is. Next word.
It seems to be easy to get them to say, oh yeah, we'll have you represent us and represent both parties. Since this been going on, but on investments, they just always want to.
Yeah. So for those online, Kay's comment was that on a residential listing, it's a lot easier to get someone into limited agency than it is on an investment property. So that does happen more often as well. All right, let's move on to section 2.3. So section 2.3, there's a lot of confusion over section 2.3. Section 2.3 says that that the company, aka you, are authorized to advertise or otherwise communicate that the seller and or company is offering to pay compensation to a buyer's brokerage in this amount. And this one is an or. So in section 2.3, you're only filling in a dollar amount or a percentage. You're not filling in both. Okay. And this is how much you can advertise. So you can talk about you can advertise anywhere except the MLS or anything that's linked to the MLS, right? How much that commission is. And this authorizes you to do that. Does this bind the seller to pay this amount? No. So if I put 4% in here and the Rep C says 2%, does the seller have to pay the difference between the 2 and the 4? If I put 2% in here and the Rep C says 4%, do I need to do an addendum to raise this to 4%? No. So this is not binding. This is only giving you the ability to talk about that commission. It has nothing to do with how much will actually be paid. So what the seller actually pays is what's in the Rep C or the brokerage compensation agreement, if that form's ever used. Okay. Let's talk about this part of it. So this part of it says, unless checked below, the company may enter into a written compensation agreement to pay a buyer's brokerage. So below, if this is not checked, so if it's not checked, then by default, you as a listing agent can actually enter into an agreement for the seller to bind them to an amount that they're going to pay. How does that happen? So that happens through the brokerage compensation agreement, and we don't see it. We saw it a few times when this very first came out, but I've never seen it since, to be honest. So what would happen is Eric is the buyer's agent on my property, on my listing. He comes, and before he actually writes an offer, he sends me the brokerage compensation agreement and says, I want 3%. That compensation agreement is between brokerages. And so I can actually agree and sign and say, yes, we'll pay Eric 3%. Okay. Because I've obligated them to do that. And I should have ethically communicated that, but I have authorization right here that I can actually do that from the seller. Without having any other conversation with the seller, I can bind them into that. Okay. And so that's why this checkbox exists. So that if you check it, you as a listing agent don't have the authority to enter into that agreement and bind the seller into something that they haven't agreed to. Okay. For me, I think that box should be checked every time just because I don't think I should have the right to bind them into a percentage, right? But depending on how you do your business and the discussions that you have with the seller, you may want to do that. Yeah, because the brokerage compensation agreement still exists and it could theoretically happen. And that's why this came to pass, is because listing agents were binding it. Bill?
Better for us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Much better for us to not put it anywhere else but besides in the REPC, right? Using the brokerage compensation agreement, in our opinion, is probably not a good idea. Okay. Let's talk about the buyer broker agreement. So we talked about this a little bit already. In the buyer broker agreement, this is the amount that you put in, and it's a dollar amount and a percentage. And so you can have both, one or the other, just like in the listing agreement. Just a reminder, once you put this in, it cannot be modified up. It can be modified down, but it cannot be modified up. So if I put 2% in here and I go to a builder who's offering 4%, I can't do an addendum to the buyer broker agreement and modify it up to 4%. That 2%, hopefully you can negotiate and have them just use it for your buyer, and your buyer loves you to death because you just got them a bunch of money. But as far as your commission, you can't modify that. And that's why I talked about if you're going to have a buyer that has any indication that they might go look at new construction, I would suggest you put in 4% and have a discussion with them about how you're going to handle it if the amount is less than that. Okay. Yeah, or 10% to understand exactly what it is that they're agreeing to. Todd's had a number of clients just recently. If you read this, it says that the difference between this amount, clients, the difference between this amount and the amount agreed to in the REPC is actually paid by the buyer. So if you put 4% here and you put 2% in the REPC, this agreement says that the buyer will pay the difference, the 2% difference, right? And so you have to have a discussion with them and say, hey, this is my business model. I don't go after that 2%. And we as a company don't by default go after that 2%, right? But if you do want to do it and you want to go after that difference, you can. The one thing you can't do, as a reminder, is you can't put in writing that here's 4%, but I'll take whatever the seller is offering. You can't have a variable rate. It has to be set. Okay. As a reminder, you can go down. So I talked about you can go from 4% to 2%. You can do an addendum to go down. So let's say that I go and my seller says, hey, these guys are only offering 2. I want you now to amend this down to the 2% where they are. If you amend it down to 2% and then they go in and they find out that, in Shelley's case, all the trusses in the roof are broken and they back out, and you're now at 2% on the buyer broker and you go to a new house that's offering 4%, I can't go back up again. So be really careful when modifying down that you know for sure that that's where you're going to end up. Okay.
You could conceivably cancel the buyer broker agency agreement with the buyer and then do a new one.
Yeah.
That's going around with the settlement. And they don't like that, unless maybe you have like a 30-60 day period between the two.
Yeah, if there were valid reasons for doing it, then I think you would be okay. Like they say, hey, we've decided not to buy anymore. We just want to cancel our buyer broker agreement. Great. And then write a new one. That's fine. If you're doing it just simply to get around modifying the agreement, then no, the division does not want to see that. So that's going around what our settlement agreement is.
Modified it for a deal and then the deal fell apart and
Then you're screwed for the next deal.
Yeah. So you just be really careful. Make sure if you're going to modify it down that you know that that deal is going to close.
You have 3% on the buyer broker agreement, but in the rep sheet, it's 2%. Do you have to put anything in writing?
No.
If you're only going to accept the 2%. I don't.
Only if the buyer probably won't show it.
Yeah. So typically what happens, like Bill's saying, is you and I have an agreement. You're my buyer. I agree to 3%. I tell you that if it's going to be less than that, then I'll accept it. I write a rep C at 2%, and you come back to me and say, okay, now it's at 2%. I want you to modify this agreement down to 2%. Yeah. Right? That's when you would make that change.
Sometimes I've never done it in writing. So just
You don't have to do it in writing. Yeah.
The problem is if you do it in writing, unless you specify that particular property, now your new buyer broker agreement is 2%.
So I would suggest two things, right? Like Bill said, I would suggest one, if you're going to modify it for a particular property. So if buyer buys 123 Main Street, brokerage compensation will be 2%. The other way to do it is wait until a day or two before closing and you know you're going to close, then write the agreement and the modification. Okay. Questions? We
So
good?
essentially, that's a situation where they want assurance. They may not trust you saying that you won't go after.
Right. Yeah. Because as a brokerage, if Tim writes the buyer broker agreement at 3% and writes a rep, that's not what we're not monitoring that. We're not going after that difference. And so it would only be if Tim came to me and said, hey, we're actually going after the difference of 1%, right? We would then go after the difference because we do have it in writing that we can do that. Okay. All right.
Jen?
BAC terminology. So we talked about, go ahead, Shelley.
Sorry, I just wanted to
Shelley?
say I did this once, and obviously when you make a mistake like this, you never do it again. So I wrote a contract for buyers that for sure wanted to buy this house at 2.5%. We couldn't agree on the price. They backed out, and we bought another house that was 3%. I didn't think anything of the commission, and then of course when it was time to close, or we went under contract, and my TC told me, hey, did you know you're losing 0.5%? So what I did is I just negotiated it for the buyers. I called the listing agent and said, hey, just so you know, you're not going to pay me 3%, that $5,000 or $6,000 difference, because the house was $1 million or more. I just said, can we use it towards the buyers? And they did. So I explained to my buyers that I made a mistake. They felt really bad, but I just used it to our advantage anyway. So
There you go. That's a great way to do it. Now you've got a raving fan who will probably use no other agent any other time, right? So that's a good way to do it. All right, so BAC terminology. I'm seeing BAC used still quite a bit. I'll see in addendums BAC to be 2% or BAC to be whatever, modified in this way. The terminology of BAC is no longer in any contracts. Okay, so when we look at the brokerage fee in section 2.1 of the buyer broker agreement, it's called a brokerage fee, right? When we look in the real estate compensation agreement, or sorry, the REPSI in section 4.3E, it's called seller's compensation contribution. So BAC is a term that doesn't exist. If you put BAC we kind of know what it is because it's not actually there. So there's no way for anybody to tie that percentage back to BAC. So when you're talking about your buyer's compensation, you should be talking about it as a brokerage fee, or in the REPC, you should be talking about it as a seller's compensation contribution, right? And I guess you could theoretically modify that to be an SCC, right? But probably nobody's going to know that. So I would just reference back to a seller's compensation contribution.
See on an addendum. Is the seller even liable to pay it if it's not?
I don't know. Like, it hasn't been tested in court, so I don't know the answer to what that's going to look like if someone disputes that. Because technically it doesn't exist in the contract, right? And so I think that a judge would have to be understanding of what we were trying to do and the intent behind it, and hope that that judge agreed with the intent behind it if it ever went to court.
Are you gonna send these slides out?
Yeah, I always send slides and a recording hopefully on Friday. All right, transaction document receipt is the next one I get a lot of questions about. So what is the transaction document receipt? Who can tell me what the purpose of it is? Why do we need it? Where can we find it?
So they've received copies of the documents that they signed.
Okay, so we show that they've received copies of documents. Why do we need that?
Agent asked you if they'll pay you if they don't send it.
Because if you don't get it, you're not getting paid, right? Okay, here's the reason behind this form, because I get asked this all the time. Why do I even have to get this form signed, right? And this is a division. This is a UAR form. So this is an example of a UAR form, although you would never send it to a client. But this form is a CYA. So if Tim goes under contract with me, he's my buyer, we go through the whole transaction, we get to the end, he buys the property. 2 years from now, he comes back and he sues me and he says, hey, I never even saw the REPC. I don't even know what you're talking about. I never received a copy of it, right? That's what this document's for, is to prove, hey, I actually gave him a signed copy with the seller agreed that he got it, right? And so everything on here, lead-based paint disclosure, commitment for title insurance, like all of those things, it's a CYA to show, hey, the client actually got these documents. That's the reason for it, okay? Where can you find it?
Nice little.
Yeah.
I always find it interesting though, because it is a COA for, but yeah, you can sign. Who gave those things?
Yeah. So if I'm a judge, and that's a great point. Who can sign it? Who can sign it? You or your client. Doesn't matter, right? Either one we accept. If you go to court and you've signed it, that you delivered those documents, is the judge more likely to believe you, or is the judge more likely to believe you if the client signed it? Right? So you want your client signing these things. So I know it's easy for you to go in and sign it, and we will accept it and you will get paid, but it's better if you have your client actually sign it. Okay? It's going to make a difference. Yeah, for the difficult ones, for sure. Just sign it yourself. No big deal. Yeah.
The pamphlet, do you send that regardless of the seller has copies of the buyer did get the pamphlet and to get the either way?
Yeah, so
The commitment of the title, do you send that regardless of if it's the seller or the buyer, so they both have?
So let me ask you, you've got a seller and you receive the PR from Jessica. What do you do with it?
Title insurance for the buyer, but I do send it to the seller.
Of course you do, right? And so any documents in the transaction that you're sharing with your client should be listed on here that you've shared with your client.
I'm not gonna,
So yeah, there's lots of things, right? Like an inventory list of personal property. You may never actually have that, or a survey map. I don't think I've ever checked survey map. Who do you represent?
If I was representing the seller, I don't send them.
This is just for your client.
So you represent the seller. There's CC&Rs on your property. I'm a listing agent. I receive the CC&Rs. Should I give those to my seller? Should you? You should.
Always.
No, you actually really should. And the reason behind that is that everything that you know about the property, your client should know as well, right? And so they should have a copy of it if they want to review it for reasons of what the transfer fee is or the HOA rules or whatever that they're having to follow, even as a seller. They should have copies of those things. Okay, so you should be sending those things to your client. And obviously, any fully executed document needs to be provided to whichever party you represent. All right, deposit of earnest money. This is our last one, I believe, before we give away some swag. Deposit of earnest money is required on every offer that you write as a Fathom Realty agent. Why?
So you're not in default.
It's a good answer. So we're not in default.
Where else would the money go? It has to go at title because we don't hold it. We don't have a trust account.
We do have a trust account.
Well, we
so
don't use the
there's
trust
a,
account.
We don't use it. So this is your rep C is written as a buyer. You need to include this in your offer.
So you don't need it up front with the affiliated form with the buyer due diligence and with the wire. You only need.
No, because this is part of the rep C, right? This is only part of the rep C and is required. Okay.
Well, because if you do it later, you don't have to accept it and then you're screwed.
Yeah. So Kay's question is, what if I have an unrepresented buyer? Does the unrepresented, if I'm the listing agent, does the unrepresented buyer have to use this?
Yeah.
Probably, right? Because they don't, does an unrepresented, so let's go to the next one. This is the rep C, right? This is the rep C, the top section of the rep C. The top section of the rep C says that the earnest money must be received within 4 days. And it says that the brokerage, once the earnest money is received, must deposit this money into the real estate trust account, right? This is the reason that you have to have the document. Because if my client as a buyer goes in and deposits earnest money, Verus title, and I don't have an earnest money addendum, am I in default? I am, because my client has now put earnest money somewhere that the seller didn't agree to have it. The seller agreed that it would be in a real estate trust account, right? I've now put it somewhere else. So my client is now in default. Technically, the seller can cancel, take my earnest money and walk away, right? As soon as that earnest money is deposited somewhere else. And like Shelly said, if I'm a buyer's agent, I don't include it in the original offer. We go under contract and then I send it to him the next day. Is the seller required to accept that?
No.
No, the seller doesn't have to accept that earnest money deposit addendum. And then at that point, I'm completely screwed.
So if you're the seller and you get an unrepresented buyer and they send you just a rep C, then would you send it as a counter offer or like an addendum or something without like saying on the rep C, no, I do not accept it until you accept the addendum?
So a fiduciary duty question for everybody. Whose best interest do you represent as a listing agent?
The seller. I would not personally. I would wait for the 4 days to pass so that if I had to come after them, I could, and then I would send them something.
And I don't even know if I would send it to him then.
Okay, but I would wait at least till the 4 days are passed so that I represent my client the best.
Sure. Yeah, it's not my responsibility as a listing agent to make sure that the buyer is not in default. Right. My responsibility as a listing agent is to make sure that my client gets the best for them. And the buyer not understanding, an unrepresented buyer who doesn't understand that I'm depositing earnest money and being in default immediately, that's to my benefit as a listing agent. It gives me an out, like Shelly said. If I ever have to cancel the contract, I can cancel based on the fact they didn't know what they were doing. They deposited earnest money somewhere they weren't supposed to, and they never corrected it. It's not my job to correct their errors. And honestly, it's the same. If you have a represented buyer, I have somebody from XYZ Realty who does this, puts it in a deposit, puts their deposit with a title company and doesn't give me this addendum. Is it my job to tell them they should do that? No. As a listing agent, no. Right? No, it doesn't. If I'm a buyer's agent, you're required to put it in. As a listing agent, I don't have to put this in because sometimes it is and sometimes it's not, right? And so you really have to think through on those. Who is it that I represent and what is in the best interest of that person that I represent? Okay. So
This
make
is
sure
what I
that
was
you're doing that
talking
on the-
about as far as taking advantage of people's stupidity, right? You're always protecting your client, and then you're always obviously trying to get the transaction to the end of the, get it finished, but you're always representing your client and taking advantage of people who don't know what they're doing.
Absolutely. And that's our job, is to represent our clients the best we possibly can. Okay.
Well, if your contract has the buyer at a certain time, do you have to,
So the question is, if I have a buyer that says that they're going to deposit earnest money at Verus Title, does that client have to deposit earnest money with Verus Title? Is that the question?
meet the terms?
To meet the terms of the contract? Yes.
What responsibility, is the forms, do I have to perform and a check and a copy of that in the files?
As a listing agent?
Yeah.
As a listing agent, you don't. You just need a copy of the earnest money receipt.
It's like you're still handling everything, but you don't have the same responsibility.
Exactly. You're doing everything that you need as a listing agent to cover your seller.
To get to closing for your seller.
Correct.
So let's say you represent a buyer on a cash deal and you do a deposit earnest money with Verus Title. Seller has no intentions of closing there and they accept the offer. Does the seller, because this has happened before, does the seller, and then usually we have to do an addendum and change the earnest money to the title company the seller wants. However, listening to this, does the seller become bound to that title company that they accepted that that's where the earnest money would go?
No, because theoretically, and I'll let Jessica maybe answer this better, but theoretically, the buyer could still close at Verus Title. The seller could still close a title. And even though it's a cash transaction, the $5,000 will be transferred because they don't have any way to recoup any costs. They just end up doing it for free. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. So technically that could still happen.
Let's not do that.
Adeline? Yeah, don't do that.
You're the listing agent, you get a contract with somebody saying that they'll give the $5,000. Where are they gonna send that if they're unrepresented?
Well, they still have to have
You tell me.
Well, they still have to what?
They still have to have a title company.
They probably don't know that they have to have a title company. They probably don't know where to deposit it. Yeah, Tim?
Probably 300 or 400 represented buyer transactions a year. And the easiest way to do it is just write up the rep sheet yourself. So some people are gonna raise that, some people are gonna raise their eyebrows at that. But if I'm practicing my fiduciary duty to my client, I'm putting the terms in the offer that my clients are gonna prefer.
Okay, so here's the issue. Here's the issue that the division has with that. The Rep C is written such that it is an offer from a buyer to a seller. And so if you write the Rep C, you now become a representative, an agent of the buyer because you've just done their job for them.
Yeah,
right?
Violation. Oh, man.
Yeah. So don't do that. Right? Do not write buyers.
Now we know why your number. Okay.
So don't write buyers, don't write your Rep Cs for your unrepresented buyers. Yeah. All right, guys. So price time. Maya, come here.
What? We need to.
First, when I ask the question. Okay, I'm going to read a question. You're going to tell me who raised their hand first. All right, so question number one, and when you win a prize, you're welcome to come up and pick anything. License plate cover, those go together. I'm sure the Encompass Cozy and Stress Ball will go first, so Make sure and grab those first. All right, first question. Is the seller obligated to pay the amount shown in section 2.1 of the exclusive right to sell? Ron? Correct. Come grab a prize. So 2.1 is the amount that they will pay you as a listing agent. So what you put there is a binding amount. They have to pay that if the contract goes through. I know you want the stress ball. Nice. I'll expect to see that on your car. All right, number 2. How is the commission for a limited agent determined?
Using the limited agency agreement.
Try again. Brooke.
Doing my broker agreement.
Only half right. Phyllis Ann.
Compensation.
Broker compensation agreement.
In section.
Because so you have to think about this. Okay, 4 of the Rep C. No, that's wrong. Almost. You were close. Tim.
I'm just gonna say it's negotiated.
Yeah, kind of. Clint. We'll go Clint and then go Ron because Ron's already won one.
Yeah, so isn't it in 2.3?
2.3 of
Section of
the exclusive right to sell?
Yeah,
No.
awesome.
Very close. Very close. Ron.
I would say it's what's in the Rep C as long as it doesn't exceed what's in the
Buyer broker.
buyer broker.
That's also wrong. Okay, so what you have to think about here is you're a limited agency, a limited agent. Who do you represent?
Seller and the buyer.
Both. How do you get paid as a seller? As a listing agent? Section 2.1 of the ERS. How do you get paid as a buyer's agent?
And the rest, because nobody used the.
4.3 E of the Rep C, right? Or I would have accepted the brokerage compensation agreement as well, right? And so you've got those 2 places combined is how you get limited agency compensation. You've got to combine those 2 things. You guys are really close. I know that's what you meant. That's what y'all meant.
I go to prison. I'm not worried because my wife never lets me finish the sentence.
Number 3, is the seller obligated to pay the amount in section 2.3 of the ERS?
Leah, all
No.
had her hand raised.
No, they're not.
Correct. Pick a prize. So that's just an authorization to advertise.
I'm thinking that.
Number 4, name one of the terms that replaced BAC, buyer's agent commission.
Seller company.
Clint.
Brokerage fee.
Perfect. Come pick a prize. And our last question. How long must you keep a copy of all signed documents?
Forever.
4
It
years.
wasn't
2 years.
2
years.
4 years.
Bill Sand?
2.
I'll accept it. What's that?
3 years from the date.
Somebody saying 2 is wrong.
7, it used to be 7.
7 is
2.
not right. 3 is
2.
3 is a fully acceptable answer. So the fully acceptable answer is 3 full calendar years. Okay, so for example, if I close in January, that whole year doesn't count. I have to go 3 full years, right? So you have to have 3 full calendar years that you maintain your documents. No, but let's say you did, you would still be 365 days, right? 364 days. Okay, so that wouldn't count. Okay.
You closed on New Year's Eve.
Then yes, the next year would start counting, right? Okay, perfect. All right. Thanks for playing, guys. Okay, a couple of last things I'm going to go through, and this is mostly just informational, although the next few slides are really good as well, so don't leave. Real property recordings, so that you guys know, the county will not be open on these days, so they won't be recording. So if you're planning on your client funding and recording on Black Friday and then moving in over the weekend, that's not happening, right? So make sure that you're aware of that. Christmas Eve, they're not open. Christmas Day, they're not open. And New Year's Day, they're not open. So make sure you're putting your contracts accordingly.
Does that mean we get to celebrate Christmas next week?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
As long as you bring me presents, I'll take it any day, right? Yeah, so those are December's, obviously. Sorry. Good catch, Jason. I've only seen these slides like 800 times and I never caught it.
Yesterday, I didn't catch it yesterday.
There you go. All right. I was at a broker town hall about a week and a half ago up at the Salt Lake board, and we went through a number of really good things, one of which I shared in my last video. But let me go through a couple of things that I think are really important for you to see. Our unemployment rate in Utah has always been lower than the national average. We always continually have better economy here and better jobs here than nationwide. So we're almost a full percentage below where we are nationwide as far as our unemployment amount. This is the National Association of Home Builders, the builder confidence. So this is how confident they are in building new homes. Okay, what that looks like. And so this is where we are today. It's only been lower once, which was right when COVID hit. So right when COVID hit, builders went, heck no, I'm not building any more homes, right? And builder confidence just went off a cliff. I mean, you can see it. And then everybody started buying houses like crazy. And it actually, you can't really tell, but at the top, it actually goes off the top of that chart. Should be doing a number of home starts. Home starts nationwide are down quite a bit, right? And so just be aware, builders are holding a lot of inventory. You can get great incentives from builders. So something to keep in mind when you're talking to your clients.
Good at taking it, the incentive. Like they give you like $10,000 for this and $10,000 for that. And this and that, and then at the end, it's just like, oh yeah, you have to pay like this is this much for this, that is extra from your closing costs, and you have to pay this, this, and this, and so at the end, like they really don't get that incentive.
Yeah, so builders always have a margin. They'll always figure out a way to get their margin, right? They're not going to lose money.
That can be to your benefit.
Can be your benefit. All right, number of foreclosures. The foreclosure number is the blue lines, and then bankruptcies are the red lines. And so you can see how our bankruptcies and foreclosures are going. They hit an all-time low during COVID in here. And then just to kind of blow that up so you can see it a little bit better, there towards where we're at now, we're come up a little bit and we've got a little bit of a trend up, but barely. Like we're still way below what we've been since 2003. So we're extremely low still.
Fine, but I just saw something on Monday that the national foreclosure percentage year over year is at 20% now. And builders, lenders are the biggest percentage of delinquencies.
Interesting.
Because of all their incentives, and a lot like Lennar, not Utah, but nationwide has started to drop their prices and dramatically lower those incentives because they can't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
It's a trickle. We're always behind that trend, but it could be around the corner where they start.
Yeah, we'll start seeing them come up a little bit, I think, but I don't think it's one of those things where if you're wanting to have a great business, building it on bankruptcies and foreclosures right now is not really the place to be. Okay.
But that'll be good.
So this is delinquencies, delinquencies by loan type. And so the one that I want you to focus on, although some of them are super interesting, is the mortgage, which is that yellowish line. And so that's the number of loans that are 90 days or more behind. We're still extremely low in the number of delinquencies and mortgages. So most everybody's still keeping up on their mortgage payments, even in our economy. As far as Utah housing foreclosures, delinquencies, This is our number of Utah only delinquencies, or sorry, foreclosures. Still, like this goes back to the year 2000 Q1. So we're way below our number of foreclosures. So if you're building your business on foreclosures, there's just not much out there. Okay.
I think protecting this a lot too is different than when we had a lot of foreclosure, was the fact that mortgage companies will do anything to work. I mean, I've had some listings coming because the people are in distress, but then I really want their best thing for them. And the best thing for them really was to work with their banks. And the banks are working with people so much that's really limited more than anything.
For sure. Yeah, lenders learned a lot. Yeah.
I was glad.
Yeah, lenders learned a ton during the crash, right? About how to deal with that kind of thing. And so they're much better at dealing with this now. All right, growth. So this is the number of people coming into Utah, or our population growth, not necessarily migration. So the color, the shaded part is how many people we're gaining each year based on migration. So people coming into the state from out of the state. The red dotted line is how many people we add to the state based on natural consequences, i.e. births, right? So as many people as, that's how many people we're gaining through birth. And this is how many people we're gaining through people just coming into the state. Okay, and so we started to outpace our natural growth by our migration growth back in 2019-ish, somewhere in there. And that's continued. It's dipped a little bit, but we still see a ton of growth for Utah. In fact, I'll show you another slide, I think, but it continues to grow and the projection is quite big as far as what we're going to see.
Donnie winning.
No.
Gonna be a 3-month.
So Utah is number 10. This is a UAR stat. Utah's number 10 as far as average sales price at 526. We're actually higher than that, so I'm not sure when this stat came out. But we're 10th highest, which is crazy. If you lived in Hawaii and sold in Hawaii, those commissions on average, pretty good, right? You've got an average sales price of $1 million. Median sales price, this shows the median sales price compared to the monthly payments. So you can see back in about 2022, that crossed where the amount of your sales price and your monthly payments went up above as far as in percentages, right? And then I showed this one on my slide. This is the amount when you make your monthly payment. This is the amount that goes towards principal and the amount that goes towards interest, and how much of it is being eaten up by interest. Because of our higher interest rates, it just out of control, right? I don't even want to see the slides from back in the 70s, but.
Jason, are you thinking about this, the new loan that they're trying to get done?
Hey, you missed it. Sorry, Brooke. You'll have to go back and watch the video.
Do that.
All right. And this is our projected housing demand from 2024 through 2033. So we're projecting to add about 300,000 houses by 2023. That's a lot of households. 300 households by 2023. State of Utah. So this breaks it out. You can see how many each area is projected to add. So Utah County, about 71,000 between now and 2020 or 2033. Salt Lake County, about 81,000, right? So it's a lot of households. I don't know. So this is just projection of total number of households that will be needed, and how that's going to work. I don't know what those numbers look like. We need a lot more affordable housing, and I know that's big on the legislature's floor right now. How it works out and how we get there, I really don't know.
I mean, I look at us as real estate agents shaking our head years ago when they started building all this stuff, all these condos and stuff, and thinking,
who's going to fill them?
And we're still in a shortage today.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, guys. Fathom Serves. So we do this twice a year. Fathom Serves for December. We're going to do the Ronald McDonald House. Barb, do you want to tell us a little bit about Ronald McDonald House and why it's needed, what we're going to do?
Well, Ronald McDonald House is for families who have children that are
I'm going to give you a mic for onliners.
So the Ronald McDonald House, the one we're doing is the one in Lehigh at the new hospital. Ronald McDonald House is actually on one of the floors of the hospital. And this is where families who have children that are sick and maybe had to travel, or even local, can stay and be near their children. And so they provide meals. People come in and prepare meals daily. They do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sometimes they do cookies and storytelling at night. But there's just a big, need for people to help with that. So we're going to volunteer to come in and make lunch. It can be just something simple like sandwiches. I'm not sure what Maya has planned, but we do need people to go in and prepare lunch. One day you cannot make anything at home and bring it. Everything has to be prepared on site or catered. So we'll need help with, non-perishable things like drinks and chips or things like that. And then we'll probably do a collection for money for like buying other ingredients that we need. But some of these families, I've heard a lot of the stories. Several of us were at a lunch earlier this year with them, and that's one reason why we decided to do it. But some of these families have to leave at the spur of a moment and they have nothing. They don't have clothing. They don't have anything. They have gift cards that they give people for gas and, just buying, needy things. So we're also besides just doing lunch, there's 2 dates in January that we're doing that. During the month of December, we're going to just be doing a collection for the things that they need. They need things like paper plates and napkins and cleaning supplies. But then their number one item, I think, is caffeinated soft drinks. People really like to drink caffeinated soft drinks there, but snacks and games and just like things that people can do, like a word search puzzle or Sudoku or something like that. There's a whole list of things that they have on their needs list, and I'm sure Maya will be sending that out. And so you can just, pick up something extra at the store or whatever and drop it off to Maya at the front desk. And that's what we're going to be doing. So just a collection and then 2 lunches that we'll be doing in January.
What we really want you to do as well is involve your community, right? Talk to your people, talk to your clients, have them help you with these donations. This is a great outreach this time of year, just to say, hey, as a Fathom agent, this is something that we support and we would love to have you involved with us. Great touch point for your clients to see what they would be willing to help us with in order to gather this. You can bring stuff in here to the office. You can have clients bring it here to the office. And if you have monetary donations, we'll find a way to make that work for you as well. So Todd left, but this is coming from Todd. He received a call from Orca Home Loans the other day out of Washington. Orca Home Loans called him and said, hey, if you've got buyers that would like to use us, we'd be happy to pay you a percentage of this loan if you send the client to us. Okay. And that sounds great. It's just not legal. Okay. So yeah, so if you get someone that reaches out to you and says, hey, I'm a lender, I want to pay you for sending clients, just say no, because the division will take your license. It won't be a fun process for you. What's the other way?
That the lender tells you, pay me and I'll give you leads.
A lead program is different. So you would be able to do that. Unless you want to get someone arrested, apparently. I don't know. Okay. So we talked about this a little bit, but a reminder to back up your data. You do need to keep those things for 3 full calendar years. And so, just think about it. If you lost your phone, you lost your CRM, you lost all that access, that's your business, guys. Make sure you're backing up your clients and your client data. That's super important. Put it in the cloud, put it on a drive at your office, put it on a drive at home, right? Make sure you've got that client data. And then division, anything that's a client signed document, you need to make sure and keep for 3 calendar years. Here's a help for you from IntelliAgent for many closed deals. So if you go into your transaction up above where you normally submit that, there's a button there that says export. You'll click that, which will bring you into a new screen. And on that new screen, you'll click export transaction. Once you do that, you'll get an email with a zip file in it. That email comes from IntelliAgent, I believe. Yeah, no reply at IntelliAgent. So watch for that email. That email has the zip file. The zip file has copies of all the PDFs. So you can literally just take that zip file and stick it in the cloud, stick it on your hard drive, wherever you want to put it, right? Or you can take the individual PDFs out of there and put them on as well. If you need help with any of this process, let me know, but it's really very simple and an easy way for you to get an exported copy of all of your documents. Two last things, Fathom announcements. Fathom partnered with buyowner.com if you didn't see that. So we will have exclusive access to buyer leads. So all the leads that go through the buy owner portal, we'll have access to those. And then possibly, although usually if a seller's on buy owner, they're not really looking for an agent, but you may be able to pick up a few listing leads there. How this actually works, I don't know. I don't have any details, and so I can't tell you.
Just a little heads up, my son is one of two reps for forgetting the name of the company, that Matterport. And so they have a lawsuit right now against Zillow to try to shut Zillow down from using their 360-degree Matterport tours. They won't let them use them on Zillow. You have to use Zillow stuff. And so Homes.com, who owns Matterport, is suing Zillow. And so it's a kind of a mess, but
There's a lot of mess out there right now, if you look at it.
Matterport is that's a great service.
Yep. All right. The second announcement was that we now have access to Move Concierge for all of your clients. And so Move Concierge helps your buyers on the move. We'll set up new utilities for them. We'll help with the moving. They actually have a moving service, change of address things, setting up security services, all those kind of things. And so again, I don't have all the details on it, but this will be coming out soon. And all of your buyers will have the opportunity to use Move Concierge as part of Fathom Realty's service. Just be aware.
We had a couple of years ago.
No, it was totally different service. Yeah. So this is much better. Move Concierge is a really good service. I believe this will probably be really good, but I haven't seen the details, so I'm not going to put my name fully behind it at this point, but I believe that it's probably a really good thing. All right, last one, check your mail. Remember the Christmas party. Remember the buyer consultation or the business classes coming up and the Buffini classes, and register for those. Sure.
I'm doing a sub for Santa this year and we're getting our people from United Way. It's kind of excited with United Way because they have to, they scrub them hard. They have to do an application and then they have to go take a class. So they're after families that aren't being, taken care of by the church or the neighborhood or families. So it's really an awesome thing. So to add to that, this is a great opportunity for you to call your clients. Anybody that donates, I'm having a big event on the 17th. I have he's a world-renowned Santa Claus coming in, and we're working on bringing him in on horse pulled wagon. And it's going to be a really, really cool event.
Not reindeer?
Well, I'm working on the reindeer. I'm putting you in charge of that. Hey, and for those that donate, if they have a true awesome Christmas story, I'm putting a book together to give the families of true Christmas stories that have happened among those that are helping out to the recipient. So it's a real fun project if you want to be a part of it. I'm doing all the heavy lifting. All you have to do is donate, call your clients, and join in the fun. Hey,
reach out to Karen if you have any needs or want to help her with that sub for Santa. Should be a good project.
If anybody wants the information, I've got some flyers.
Thanks, guys. Lots of food in the back still, so grab some and have a great day.